Once you've got each section starting to work and maybe even found the transitions between the sections, there are some finer points that you'll want to start to look at. The first is going back to the flow. Now, previously, we've talked about the flow of the ideas, but here I want to look at the flow of just how they speak, the timing. A good example of this is actually the same opening that we looked at before with the Advocacy Center. The reason the opening that it didn't quite work when first assembled was partly because the idea that kids are scared before they enter the building, that wasn't presented early enough, but it's also because that first interview started in what kind of felt like the middle of a sentence. It just felt abrupt. So the second reason to start with the later interview is because it felt like the beginning of a thought. And throughout my editing, I'm looking for those beginning and ending thoughts that make it feel like there's something resembling a complete sentence. People don't talk like they write, so it doesn't need to be grammatically correct, it doesn't need to be proper, but it needs to feel like they begin and end their thoughts, so the video just doesn't feel like one long stream of consciousness dump. Just like a conversation, you want complete thoughts and occasional pauses so the audience can take in the information before moving on to the next idea. And while we're on the topic of beginnings, we've talked about this already, but obsess about your opening and your ending. What's the hook, that first thing the audience sees or hears that makes them want to watch the rest of the video? It's in the interview, of course, but I also want to try to find something that lets me start with some good B-roll images instead of the interview. Here's the opening of the Advocacy Center again.
I think before a kid comes through the CAC, they're scared. They don't know what to expect.
They don't know. They don't know what's going to come next, am I going to be taken away? Is my dad going to go to jail? Am I going to ruin the family?
They've just had this horrific thing happen to them, and they have all of these people that want to talk to them.
That B-roll looks a lot more interesting than a talking head interview. So I try to get a few visual clips in first before seeing the interview, so when this video shows up on your social media, people take notice of it and hopefully they stop scrolling. Same with the ending. What's the last thought you want to leave your audience with? Here's what we used for the Advocacy Center.
I've interviewed over 500 kids, and I like to say that that's 500 faces that I'll never forget.
We would all love to work ourselves out of a job. It'd be awesome if we didn't have a child advocacy center or a CASA program and kids weren't coming into care because they were abused or neglected. We'd all have to find something different to do, but wouldn't that be awesome?
The 500 faces line, that's really powerful, and honestly, I'd love to end on that note. But it didn't quite have the flow of a finished thought, so I used Tess talking about working yourself out of a job, which it's a lot wordier, but it's a great message about their passion, so I think it works. And it feels complete when she finished that thought. Now we'll also add a finished logo to that later on, maybe even a call to action on the screen. I don't usually put a lot of text in the video. I prefer the images and the interview to tell the story, but at the end, if they're still watching, well, that means I've got their attention, and this is when I tell them what I want them to do, because they're interested in the program if they made it this far through the video. And finally, you want to keep the pace of the video moving. We've talked about that and removing the repetitions and the diversions, looking at the flow, but you want to always be putting something new in front of the audience. Never give them a chance to click away. YouTubers know this. YouTube actually gives you graphs that show you second by second when your audience is watching or when they click away from your video, so you can really see where the video is working and where it's not. You want to look for major dips that tell you that your audience is tuning out. Don't worry that the graph goes down steadily. That's what they do, is people they click away and no one starts watching in the middle to add viewers back. And there's almost always a dip right away because people click by accident or they hit play and realize it's not what they want, or any number of reasons. But both of the graphs we're looking at have around 50% retention overall, and that's actually really good. Imagine 50% of the people around the world who click on something stick around to watch most of it. That's actually pretty awesome. A couple of notes on this. It's well documented that anytime you even suggest that the video might be ending, the audience dips a lot as people click away. They're always looking for something else to take their attention. That's just kind of how the internet works, right? An example, I worked with a young editor who really wanted black screens in his video in between the sections for a dramatic effect. I warned him against it, knowing what I know, but he really wanted them. Looking at the graph later, guess where the biggest audience drops happened? The black screen, it gave people the chance to look at everything else the internet offers. Don't give the audience that chance to look away. Keep new, engaging material coming at them. Now, a small technical thing that can help the flow is to use overlapping audio in your edits. You don't want to tackle this until later in the editing process because it takes a bit of time and some finesse, but Overlapping audio can help keep things moving and even help your edits to feel smoother. Now, know what I mean by an overlapping audio edit is to have the audio from a clip start a little earlier or later than the video edit. Take a look at this clip.
Am I going to be taken away? Is my dad going to go to jail? Am I going to ruin the family?
They've just had this horrific thing happen to them, and they have all of these people that want to talk to them. So coming to a place like this, I think would have to be scary up front.
I think it's the unknown is truly the biggest dynamic when a child comes in.
But we hope that once they walk through the doors that they see that there's a team of people who want to work with them.
And let's take a look at it on the timeline. Here in Final Cut Pro, the video edit, it's here, but the audio edit is here. So the audio begins sooner than the picture, and it draws the audience into the video clip. It's like when you hear something interesting, so you turn your head to see what it is. It has the same effect in your video. You hear them speak, so you want to see them and keep watching the video. Now here's that clip again, now that you can expect it and maybe hear it a little better.
Am I going to be taken away? Is my dad going to go to jail? Am I going to ruin the family?
They've just had this horrific thing happen to them, and they have all of these people that want to talk to them. So coming to a place like this, I think would have to be scary up front.
I think it's the unknown is truly the biggest dynamic when a child comes in.
But we hope that once they walk through the doors that they see that there's a team of people who want to work with them.
And while you're editing those transitions, also do a scan for ums and ahs or sentences at false starts, stuff that you can edit out before they get to the point of their sentence. Here's an example of a false start from a clip that we looked at earlier.
They're the ones that have the investigative authority over these cases. We are, the CAC is more of a tool for all of these.
That we are at the beginning, it should get edited out.
They're the ones that have the investigative authority over these cases. The CAC is more of a tool for all of these.
It's easy to miss these because they sound natural, but they also slow down the flow. So, while you're editing, think about the natural flow, think about your opening and closing, and keep it moving so your audience stays engaged through the entire video.